Hi, it's Melissa Sheffer, and I just wanted to talk about some of the different things that I saw in my field placement this semester. I was lucky enough to go to a school in Lancaster City, and it was great for the most part. There were a few things with their special education that probably needs to change, but for the most part, they're doing pretty all right. Um, there was a student in our class, he was getting ELL services, so I know that isn't exactly special ed, but I think it goes along with the same principle that he's receiving other services. A lot of his classes, he just was there for. He just sat there, but he didn't really know what was going on. He's from Somalia, and he's been in America for 2 years, and he speaks very limited English. He tries, he understands a lot of social cues, so he does a lot better when he's in class with his peers. But for like 2 hours out of the day, he gets pulled out into an ELL room. And I went with him for a few days, and I don't think that that type of model is beneficial for him at all. The ELL teacher, only speaks Spanish, so she would speak Spanish to the students, but that doesn't really help him because he doesn't speak Spanish. So he was trying to learn content in another English he's still trying to understand. So that's one thing that definitely they need to work on. They either need to keep him in the classroom where he can kind of get it with his other peers. He kind of gets more social cues that way through it and kind of understands what he's supposed to do, and maybe some more hands-on stuff. But other than that, he's doing all right when he's in a special, just in his class with his regular peers. There was another student, her name was Erica, and Erica was getting about 2 hours of pull-out services a day, and then when she was in the general education classroom, she was all by herself. Um, After seeing her, it was kind of eye-opening because she's in third grade, and there's a lot of skills and content that she's just completely fallen behind in. She doesn't write. She can write her name. It's very, very sloppy. It looks worse than at what a normal kindergartner might write, and she doesn't write anything else. She can't do numbers. She can't do any math. Um, because mainly whenever she's there for content, she just sits there and she doesn't know what's going on, and the teacher doesn't really specialize any of the instruction for her. So she gets pulled out for services, and they try to work on her with math, but it's in a setting with a lot of other students who are also getting pull out services, and they have different disabilities than her. And the services she receives is not coherent to her. It's kind of trying to fit the greater good, but it's leaving her really left out because she needs hands-on, concrete examples of math, and that's not what she's getting. The teacher's trying to do it more abstractly, where some of the kids are getting it, but she's not. She's in an autism support classroom, but she's not on the autism spectrum at all. There's also a lot of outbursts in her setting, so there's a lot of screaming and kids just coming in and out and just making havoc. And I understand that that's sometimes something that happens with the students, but it's just getting her very off task because she has trouble concentrating anyway. So I'm not sure that's the most coherent model for her, and that's not potent because, like I said, she's only getting it for like an hour and a half, 2 hours a day, and they actually just had her take a test the other day, and they think they're going to assess her to see about moving her to life skills. So instead of pulling her out into a classroom all day or having a teacher get pulled into her subject, they're just gonna put her in life skills. And she's capable. She's very capable of learning and getting better. She just needs a little bit of help, and she needs to learn skills to help her learn, and she's not getting that. Those pretty much were the two students in my class who were getting help. There's one other student, he's not receiving any specific services. He has ADHD, but other than that, he's not on any medication for that. So he's in a classroom. He has a lot of behavioral problems, and part of that's due to the way he's treated. He's kind of treated as a criminal, and he's pulled apart from the rest of his classmates. So he's isolated, he's being segregated and then isolated by himself in front of the classroom and kind of shaming him by putting him in front of the classroom. So the other students are kind of just picking on him, and they know that he's a lot more likely to get in trouble with the teachers. So they specifically pick on him as soon as the teacher turns their back because they know they won't get blamed for it and he will. So I worked with the teacher on that and kind of pointing some of those things out to her, and she was really grateful for it because she a teacher, they can't see everything, so it was nice for her to have the other set of eyes to kind of see what's actually going on in the situation. So she's working on getting him integrated back into sitting with some other students. I think that peer interaction and modeling of positive behaviors would be really good for him. He's already moved less from by himself. He's getting closer to some of the other groups. So even that alone is helping him and being a little more relevant to him and a little more potent. Because, like I said, him being separated, that was trying to solve the one issue, but it wasn't being potent because it was raising a complete other issue that was becoming more problematic than the original issue. So that wasn't a great way to go about choosing and helping with that. Um, I have one more thing that I saw when I was in my placement. There were some younger students. I really didn't get a lot of information on them, but were they didn't really learn content from what I saw. When I saw them, for the most part, they were just sitting in a room. Didn't really look like they were doing anything. They might have been that I just didn't observe. But when they walked in the hallways, they weren't allowed to walk by themselves. They had to be held by the teacher's hands. They all had to hold hands. Older kids, like third, fourth grade, hold hands and walk down the hallway. And that's just really portraying a childlike image on them that they can't walk down the hallway. That's a kindergarten thing, holding each other's hands and walking down the hallway because you're not independent enough to do it by yourself. So I don't really know what the situation is with those students, but that was just something that I saw. And I know my students in my class really saw, and they're like, oh yeah, those are those kids that can't do anything by themselves. So even that thing that might be helping them, I'm not sure why they do it, I didn't get to ask, is giving them negative social images with the rest of the school and everyone else in it. Um, so those are the main things that I saw in my placement. If you have any questions, feel free to email us on our email that's located at the bottom of the webpage. And thank you so much for looking at our website, and I hope you find some other things to help you. And maybe you can get some ideas of some maybe incoherent things that you haven't seen in other places.